We got into beekeeping a few years ago because we wanted a source of sweetness during our Living Off the Land challenge and because honeybees are fascinating. They can also be very expensive, but they don't have to be. Jordan and I use a lot of low-tech, low-cost ways to both take care of our bees and harvest and render out the honey and beeswax. Beeswax has been used by humans for thousands of years, from everything from dental fillings to sealing secret love letters. This week, we used the incredibly useful material that is beeswax for several projects, making candles, leather conditioner, and food wraps. We checked on our beehives last week when the weather was warm and discovered that unfortunately we lost 2 of our hives. It's not uncommon at all to lose hives over the winter, but since this is the first time it happened to us, we were definitely a little bummed. We saw that they had plenty of food left in the hive, so we know that wasn't the problem, and we'll continue to kind of do an autopsy to try and discover what the cause is so we can make sure it doesn't happen in the future. But the silver lining from this loss is now we have lots of honey and beeswax that those bees no longer need to get through the rest of winter, so we can harvest it for ourselves. You may notice in the video some bees flying around the frames as we're inspecting them. Those are actually bees from a hive somewhere else in the neighborhood that are coming in to rob the hive now that it is undefended. We'd also saved lots of frames from our honey harvest this past fall, just in case we needed to supplement the bees this spring. Now we obviously don't have to do that either, so with that and what we just got from the hives, we have an unexpected bounty of honey and beeswax that will get us through the next couple of years, which is plenty of time to establish more hives.
Yeah, they've got a ton of honey left. So you can see where they've been chewing the caps off and eating some of the honey on this one.
Because we use primarily open frames in our hives, the bees construct this beautiful natural comb, which means lots of beeswax. Rendering it out to use is a simple but quite sticky process. We don't have any of the equipment that commercial beekeepers use. They would put the frames in an extractor, which spins them at very high speeds, causing all of the honey to fly out of the cells and drip down the sides of the container where they can collect it. That method actually doesn't work on natural comb anyway because it's too fragile, so our method is to just crunch it all up so that those cells within the honeycomb break, releasing the honey to drip down with just the force of gravity. Test. That was a crazy sound. Don't really need the knife, huh? Could get lost in there.
This is amazing.
Oh my
Jesus. Okay. Well, that's why we use our hands.
What you gonna do with all that?
I gotta clean this off my hands. Come here. Sit. Good girl. Not too much. Okay.
We put this gooey mess in a colander on this absolutely ridiculous setup using pumpkins and stacks of books so that it can drip down into a container below. Now, we never see ants in our house except when we are processing honey. Somehow, their little anti-senses tingle as soon as a drop of honey hits a surface and they are all over it. We always forget this somehow until they start showing up. To keep them from turning our honey into an ant resort, we created a little moat around the container by filling up a tray with water. This does a good job of keeping them at bay. After the majority of the honey has dripped through the colander, we put it through a fine mesh strainer to get it even cleaner. Then we can pour it into our mason jars and it's ready to store for basically forever. From these 2 frames alone, we got about a gallon of honey.
Okay. There. Wow, look at all this honey. It's a lot of honey, honey. All right, before we built our moat, some of those ants got in there, so we're gonna filter them out along with all the little wax bits. Wow. Texture. Whoa. So beautiful.
Now it was time to deal with our big blob of beeswax, which is also mixed with some leftover honey, pollen, and little bits of bee larval cocoons. We want our beeswax to be as clean and pure as possible so that it's shelf stable and ready to use in a number of different ways, so we render it out. The rendering process is very similar to our deer tallow rendering process, but it smells way better. We add the clumps of beeswax to a pot of water and heat it up until the wax melts. Once the wax is liquid, we can strain it and separate it from everything else in the mix. We started off doing a DIY water bath with 1 pot inside a larger pot, but that was taking forever, so then we just switched to using 1 pot.
Okay, yeah, this is mostly just wax. A little bit of honey in there, but I don't know why. Yeah, there's always some amount that just doesn't actually come through.
It's probably just trapped bubble. Jerry rigged double boiler. We poured the melted beeswax solution through some fine cheesecloth to strain out all the little impurities. Then, because the wax sits on top of the water, it will all harden into a solid disc that we can easily remove. We save that honey mixture to add to sparkling water, which makes a delicious beverage.
Please don't. As careful as I can. It's not, but it's the best I can do. No? Oh, all right. There we go. See? Here? Oh, right. Hold on your phone. Part two. Gunk.
To get the beeswax even cleaner, we melted it down one more time, this time in a DIY double boiler using a mason jar, and strained it through into silicone molds. These blocks of beeswax are now ready to store indefinitely until we want to use them. We used some of ours right away to make leather conditioner, beeswax wraps, and candles.
It's not that dirty.
Yeah, better than it was. Don't burn your fingies. Do you want the jar lifter? All right. Since we'd already gotten our cheesecloth all waxy, along with basically every dish and utensil in our kitchen, we figured why not lean into it and make some beeswax food wraps. I also cut some rectangles out of this beautiful Kenyan dress that sadly doesn't fit me for a more fancy version. We mixed the beeswax with a little bit of grapeseed oil to give it more flexibility and then brushed it onto the fabric. Then we put it in the oven at 250 degrees Fahrenheit so it would re-melt and we could use the brush to kind of smush the beeswax around and make sure it was evenly coating the fabric.
The square is a square. There, I'm gonna make it better. the scissors nice and waxy. Just to go with everything else.
Everything in the house is covered in wax after today.
Why?
I don't know, it just feels like it's not gonna work.
No, I don't feel that way.
Just a feeling I've got.
Okay.
Gut instinct.
Here we go.
So
Whee!
you just brush it on.
Yeah. What else would I do?
I don't know. It just seems crazy. Paintbrush is gonna be a freaking mess at the end of this.
Yeah, well, that's what it's for now.
Yeah.
Might be a little too thick, but that's okay because we'll put it in the oven. And well, I think we'll like smush it around with the brush. Get the edges. Cool. Looks good. These wraps don't stick to themselves quite as well as the commercial beeswax products out there because those usually include a gum or resin, but they still make a great waterproof wrap for leftovers or whatever else you want. Beeswax is edible, antibacterial, and antifungal, so we feel good about using it close to food, and it keeps the wraps waterproof and sturdy.
Wow.
Cool.
Beeswax is also great for waterproofing leather, and when we mix it with oil and deer tallow, it makes the perfect boot conditioner. As a product derived from animal skin, leather requires fat to keep it supple and strong. The tallow and oil means you get these great fats penetrating deep into the leather, while the beeswax keeps it strong, waterproof, and smelling delightful. And as a bonus, when I'm done rubbing it on my boots, I also use it on my hands, and it leaves them moisturized and protected too. Oh yeah, looking good. Both nicely conditioned now. Me and the boots. A totally different but still very useful thing we make out of beeswax is candles. These are super simple and easy to make. You can use any heat-safe container, but we decided to reuse these little clay yogurt pots. Yes, I did buy these overpriced yogurts just for the adorable containers, and Jordan made fun of me, but who's laughing now? Anyway, to make the candles, all you need is beeswax and a wick. We used some cordage that Jordan twisted up from old milkweed stalks. We stuck it to the bottom of our pots with a little bit of melted beeswax and then let that harden up before slowly pouring in the rest of the beeswax. Wrapping your wick around something like a little skewer or a pencil and resting it on the lid of the jar will keep the wick straight while the beeswax is being poured in. Then you just have to wait for the candle to set up and you can trim the wick and it's ready to burn. beeswax candles have a really subtle, pleasant scent and a very long burn time, way longer than both soy and paraffin wax. So these candles will last us for a long time and are great to have in case of a power outage or just to feel nice and cozy. With the antlers, it definitely looks like some sort of, yes. We found a lot of fun and satisfaction in figuring out ways to use our beeswax. My inner cheapskate also loves figuring out ways to replace something we might have purchased with something we can make ourselves and cherish because we know exactly what went into making it. If you have more ideas for things to make with our beeswax, let us know in the comments below. If this video put a bee in your bonnet about having a little more DIY in your life, may I humbly suggest checking out our online courses. We're still beginner beekeepers, but we're very experienced gardeners and foragers, and we put all of our passion and knowledge into creating 2 comprehensive online courses. They teach you everything you need to know about setting up a thriving, low-maintenance garden and how to forage your own food confidently and sustainably. You can find out more about them at the link in our description. And if you qualify for SNAP or WIC or other financial assistance programs, please get in touch with us about our sliding scale pricing options.